master the business of speaking with your hosts, Taylor and Austin. You're listening to Technically Speaking.
Welcome to another episode of Technically Speaking. We're your hosts, Taylor and Austin, and today we're talking with Deborah Johnson, a speaker veteran who shares with us her journey to success. Now, she has not only written multiple books, albums, but 3 full-length musicals, hundreds of songs, the producer of a popular podcast called Women at Halftime. She's also the past president of the National Speakers Association of the Los Angeles chapter and has written and produced multiple online courses. Now, someone who is a creative, who has spent so much time in the music and the entertainment industry, and also then segueing that into a successful speaking career, she shares with us the balance between the creative process and the business process, and how to come to terms with having to do the things in business that often don't get our creative energy running as visionaries. She also shares with us the idea that your last gig is technically your last gig unless you have a plan, a system, and a process to continue generating business. So she shares with us the journey to success and the road that she went on, the trials, the tribulations, and she talks about how also goal setting and vision planning are the 2 essential things that help make all of this possible. As always, stick around until the end for some awesome resources, and let's dive in, shall we? All right, and we are live. Deborah, it is so good to have you on Technically Speaking. Welcome to the show.
I am so excited to be here. I just really love you guys. You just are doing such a great job. I've known you now for a little bit, and it's just really a privilege to be here. Yeah, thank you.
Oh yeah, we go way back. I mean,
Yeah, we do.
I think we first met
Early
when
days.
we really launched our company at Influence in 19, right? It's been a long time. It's so cool that we've been able to be on this journey together so far.
It's been great. It's been great. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
So, and man, you've been, what a decorated past you've had in the business of speaking. I mean, what you were president of the LA chapter of NSA. Was that last year, if I recall? What year was that?
I think it was 3 years ago.
Oh, 3 years. Oh my goodness. Time has gone by so fast.
Passes. Yeah, it was about 3 years ago. Uh-huh.
Wow. And how did you get into this like crazy world of speaking in the first place? I know you're Grammy nominated, musicals and so on. How did speaking come into the mix? Just tell us the backstory.
Yeah. Well, I'm a lifetime entrepreneur. So that's pretty much my story of creating a lot of product and performing for a number of years on many different stages. And just love it. Absolutely love it. And but I've created a lot. So as I started expanding my business into speaking, because the music industry they were starting to book just the acts that had been around a lot longer than I had, or they were what I call the has-beens with a one-hit wonder, whatever. They were getting booked, and the tribute acts. I thought, I see what's coming here. There has to be some way to keep working. And I noticed in a lot of those conferences and conventions that they were starting to cancel some of the music acts, but not the speakers. So I thought, there must be something to that. So I started in and figured out I had an agent, a music agent, that was also a speaking agent. So just started asking a lot of questions, and it's a companion field, because it's not just stage work anymore. It's online work, of course. But I just really love it.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, something that I really like about you too is that you have these beginnings as a creative, and we talked a little bit about this before the show. And I know one of the things that we're going to talk about today is how this handoff needs to take place between the creative side of things and then the business side of things. And so you've done this for yourself. And like, I know that this resonates with a lot of our listeners. We get told about this all the time. Like, oh, I'm the creative type. I'm a visionary, right? And like the running of the business sucks.
Yeah.
But like you found a way to move past this. So like, what's that been like for you? Like taking this creative oriented background and skill set that you have and making it into such a successful business. I mean, where's the gap being bridged, I guess, is my question.
I don't know that there's a huge gap. You have to be willing to rotate your business often enough to be doing the business and not just creating. And I think
Mhm.
that's kind of hard for a creative because all you want to do is create and to finish your projects. And I have done a lot of them, believe me. And I was, on that track. I worked a lot as a musician, and you go from one gig to the next. And one of my little, your last gig is your last gig, and to where I would keep getting booked because either I was referred or I was in a good network or I was showcasing to do these shows across the country. So those were happening for me. But when it started shutting down, it was like, okay, I have all of this music, I have all of this stuff. And even now, I am still playing catch up with putting out product of of the work I've already done. I've done it. So we don't go back and put those into a part of our business to be able to sell, to be able to have a big inclusive business that also includes that creative side as well as anything else we're doing, whether it's a public or it's training or whatever we're doing.
Yeah. How did you learn that lesson of like not constantly creating? Because like Austin said earlier, we hear this a lot, like, oh, I just want to create this new course. We've got this idea for this new coaching program, this new keynote, this new, and this new. And what we generally find that happens is it doesn't like they don't ever put effort into selling it, marketing it, focusing in on it, going deeper in with it. And we kind of just get into the next phase of creating. So was this
Right.
like knowledge of needing to it sounds like it wasn't always that way where like you weren't like constantly creating and then also running the business. It sounds like there was a lesson learned there. So like at what point in the business life cycle did you realize that, oh, wait a second, we've also got to work on this business process end of things on top of the creative end of things? When did that shift happen for you?
Um, I think it's a constant process with
Oh
me,
yeah.
to be honest.
Sure.
I have to schedule in, and something I have coming at the end of the year is my plan your year. And I put that
Uh-huh.
together with just a webinar because it's what I do. If I plan, like at the end of this month is where I planned to do more Christmas charts, to put out music that I did. I did this album how many years ago? At least 10, probably a little more. A wonderful album with full brass and strings, and there's some great songs on that and arrangements. But I've not put out the sheet music or let the tracks go for people to perform it, which is that's another great residual income to be able to
Hmm.
do. So I had done four of those songs last year, and I have on the slate to do two this year, at least two, and just finished the first. But I scheduled it. See, if I schedule it in my schedule, it's like, oh, okay, I'm switching. I'm going to do this. So it's part of my goals, part of my quarterly goals that I set. But I have to schedule them because automatically I want to create and and I've scheduled also marketing pieces and contacts for engagements,
Hmm.
online engagements, some live engagements. Now they're starting to open up more. I think people are still a little afraid of that, but they're starting to happen. So, you just kind of have to switch, where you are in your business, and it's a mindset, and to not constantly, because I'm also creating another online course and I'm trying to get better at the technical part so I don't have to do as much video editing. So that's been, although that skill will help me in all areas of my business. So when you think about, doing that, you kind of compartmentalize it. And, I like to
Okay.
finish things, but again, perfection is the enemy of done. So you have to, get things done as well as you can and then kind of move on.
Mhm. Yeah, done not perfect. It's a
Yes.
tough lesson. I have to remind myself that all the time because I'm a fairly detail oriented person. Taylor is too, actually. So
Yes.
we kind of butt heads with this stuff sometimes, I think. But being able to like draw the line, right? Like I've done the thing. Now it's time to just like get it out there, and then
Yes.
ideally move on to the next thing, is maintain that. But yeah, it's not an easy thing to do. And I think something that's difficult about it is it's a discipline, right? There's very
Yes.
rarely like a line drawn in the sand for you. Most of the time
Right.
there's you have to tell yourself that you're at that
Right.
point. So like, what does that process look like for yourself? Like, how does the planning work? Like, how do you like set these deadlines for yourself? How do you decide when it's time to stop and move on to the next phase of releasing something? Like, I'd love to just get into your head a little bit.
Yeah. A lot of that, a little bit of it's by feel. Okay. Some of it's around holidays. Since I've been in music and creating music, some of that is around those holidays. Like I have a course that I open up twice a year. So you divide it up and you backtrack on your marketing plan. So, it opens up in January and it'll open up again in June. So I know I backtrack on those things. So you start with the end in mind. That's a great phrase as well. You hear that a lot. But, I backtrack on that. People ask constantly, how do you get so much done? Well, I don't feel like I just plan ahead and put it on the schedule. And, and I have now some automated tools where I can put them out and I use them almost as little assistants. And I use Buffer and some of those sort of social media tools. But there's only so much you can do on those as well. A lot of it, you just have to do the gut work. But yeah, I start with the end in mind that way. And my system has kind of developed as I've grown too, because I hope I never quit growing, but that sort of system does. And I've tried different planning systems and everything, and it takes so much work to put in the planning. It's better for me to have a pencil and paper calendar and I pencil in what I'm going to do. And then I just start scheduling that way. I know exactly which memes. I've got a meme, what I call a meme. All of it's on Google Docs. All of my notes are, and then I have meme banks and everything that I can rotate. But that's taken some years to do, and I teach people a little bit how to do that and how to set up their own systems that will work for them. And so you're not just tied totally to your business. I like to work remotely. I'll be gone 3 days again next week, so I like to work remotely, and I can just schedule things and it'll go on and I can click in once a day and then schedule. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. It sounds like honestly what really the process is, you just have a little bit of vision, you figure out how to a deadline for that vision, pencil it on the calendar, and then kind of backtrack how we're going to get that done until it's actually accomplished. Do you ever find yourself though, like one thing that we see all the time too is like, it can be hard to almost let go of some of the goals that you had set, for your business. If things change, do you find yourself having to change course? And then when that happens, like do you have a process for determining what's priority, or how do you make sure you're not inserting anything new because it has a perceived higher priority than something else? Do you have a process for that?
Well, my process, I think you have to be willing to change and to regroup. And if you don't get something completely done, say, I will come back to this. Sometimes I overplan. Like I have these aspirations of, okay, I'm going to get all of this done during this time. It takes me back to the time when I was in undergrad work and I was in music and all of that. And so we had these instrument classes. And during one of our 2-week spring breaks, I thought, I'm going to learn the violin. Yeah. Anybody listening to this? Are you laughing? Because my sister, I was her accompanist for years, a professional violinist, wonderful. It does not take 2 weeks to pick up a violin. I was thinking, I could just pick this up. There was absolutely no way. So sometimes we put these unrealistic goals, and I'm very guilty of that, and say, I need to put this off another couple weeks, and I know then I can focus on it more. And what happens is I will end up making it better. And so it's better in the long run. So I have to realize there are good principles behind that, and not being afraid of putting something off. And I think that's, again, a mental mindset. I'll end up getting it done. But usually what I do is, I do things in chunks, little stages. And it's almost like the tiny habits principle, to where you put little tiny habits, you start building them. And I just interviewed Linda Fogg Phillips for my podcast for this. It's a great book. And you just, with those little tiny habits, to be able to stack them together to be able to make real change. Well, the same thing happens in any project, is you chunk it, just little tiny steps to feel, okay, I got that done today, I can leave it. And so if you're planning ahead enough, that does happen. But people have a hard time sometimes starting because they think, oh, it's just too overwhelming. Well, chunk it down, way down. I mean, way down. I'm just saying, I'm going to put a couple of lines on the page. I'm going to, you've got to just start because that'll create your momentum.
Yeah, it's kind of like that crawl, walk, run kind of phrase. I think it was Brad Barton. If you're listening to this, we love you, by the way.
I knew this was coming.
I know you were going. Yeah. So Brad Barton. He's a speaker. Again, what's up? Represent Utah. So Brad shared a story with us, and I think it was his friend, but he kind of had this philosophy because he was training for a marathon, and like when somebody's doing anything, we have a goal in mind, right? Whether it's growing our business, training a marathon, losing some weight, whatever the thing is, like there's always. Right. There can be a resistance to get going. You have some motivation. You might not have some motivation on certain days, and you still kind of maintain that habit. And so, one thing he shared about this kind of idea is like you just kind of got to get started. And so, what this guy training for the marathon would do is he said, "Look, I'm just going to put my running clothes on. I'm going to tie my shoes in the morning. I'm going to put everything on, and I'm just going to go stand out in the middle of the road. Yeah. And if at that point I decide not to run, I won't run." But at least I've gotten that far to build some momentum, to get those little tasks done, to then continue training. It's like that philosophy of just starting small and then layering into it, I think, is the message there.
It's a great one. Put the running shoes on. Maybe that's all you do that day.
That's right.
It's why I lay out my workout clothes the night before. They're there.
Oh, nice. They're there to remind you, huh?
I do it every night. Otherwise, if I have to hunt for them, I'll probably not get right up. Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite part of that whole story is that like every time he would do it, he would go run. Like it was never that he decided he got on the road and was like, I'm good. He would just go out and run because that first initial step gave you the inertia to want to keep going. It's like, there's various versions of this thing, but if you want to start painting, don't even worry about the painting part. Just get your canvas out, put your paints on the table, get everything ready. And then by the time you've done that amount of work, you're probably going to keep going with it.
Yeah.
So
that's a great principle. I'm right in there with that principle too. That's a great one. So
yeah. Well, discipline is hard. Like, I mean, I'm talking from personal struggles, right? Like being able to make tough decisions when you don't want to is an extremely difficult thing. But if you can make the decision smaller, where it's a lot easier to actually go and accomplish it, then you probably will at least be able to do that much. And then, again, you let the momentum carry you forward.
Definitely. Little steps, little tiny steps.
Yeah.
Good.
How does discipline fit into things for you, Deborah? Like what happens when you've made these big goals and now you're up against the clock, or you've got all of the other client work that you have to do and you're trying to be a human being at the same time? Like how do you stay on track like when things are getting tough?
Well, I have to realize a lot of my goals are and my timetables are self-induced. So that's just true of me. So, and putting those off, again, getting back to that mindset, and if I have a lot going, some of the most stressful times have been, when I wrote the musicals and I was producing them, and all of these obstacles, talk about obstacles coming your way, and working with huge teams. And I had to realize there were some nights I needed to stay up all night and do rewrites. I had to realize there were some fights I had to fight with some permissions that came up with one of them, which was kind of interesting with, anyway, we don't need to get into all of that sort of legal part that I had to do, but some of these things that come up that seem to be they're big emergencies. And as I approached each one, it was interesting how there were some solutions right there that I wasn't afraid to, I was meeting the right person at the right time. I found the right attorney. I found all of these sort of things at that time that I was able to follow through on and fix the problems. Because a lot of that, you're fixing a lot of problems as well as producing. So I think some of that sort of stress, but there's a lot of stress in that production, because it wasn't just like me showing up to a gig. It was me. I had a certain number of weeks to rehearse a cast and have everything ready, and the costumes and the staging and all of those details at once that laid on my shoulders as the producer of this and the writer. So those were still self-induced, but there was a definite timetable with union rules and all of that. So, and with engagements, it's more that I know because I've done so much solo work, and it's, I can hire in a band, or, if I was in music, or speaking, it's me. So that I will have it ready. If that's that deadline, I will have the presentation ready. I will have, I know on my end, and then there's just going to be some obstacles that you get through to make it all happen, whether flights are canceled, whether, all of a sudden they want to go completely virtual. Okay, you have to change and regroup. Again, that's a mindset.
Yeah.
But I want to prepare myself as much as possible for all of those changes, not only with mindsets, but my abilities. So today, when we had to change formats slightly, I don't know if we want to get into this or not, but I had to change laptops for some reason. We had a problem there.
Problems. That's how they roll.
Yeah.
We're here for them.
The whole setup. I had to get to it. This is why I'm farther away on this camera. So it's the whole setup changed, but we were able to do it. See? And so you have to get by, because your time is so extremely valuable on both sides. And you want to be able to have these things happen, not throw everybody else. So you figure out a way, and you do what you need to do to make that happen. And I think that sort of mindset, you do what you need to do. I've raised 3 kids. You do what you need to do.
Isn't that the measure right there? Just the number of kids you've raised. I mean,
it is.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what I love about the way like you've just kind of broken this idea of discipline down is it's like, I think discipline comes in at the hardest moments in time, right? Which is kind of how this kind of segued, right? You just have to do what you got to do. That's when you need to rely on discipline. When motivation isn't a factor, it's discipline that kind of kicks in, right? And the way you talk about like hard things that have come up, it's like you have this mindset of acceptance almost. Like it is what it is. We just got to adapt and find a way forward, be a problem solver, get it done. I have a deadline. And it's almost like this mindset of just acceptance of what is and just doing your best to actually solve that problem.
Right. That's exactly what it is. And
nice.
you just move ahead, and you have to accept too, again, that goes back to that perfect, because we have in our mind, oh, it's going to look just perfect. I am just perfectly framed here. If I stand, I'll probably be better, but then I can't see you guys. So I'm perfectly framed on, where I'm at. And so I've got this vision in my mind, and all of a sudden that changes. You just have to completely adjust and say, you know what? People are going to get what they get out of this anyway, because they're going to listen and they're going to watch enough, and they're not going to judge you on saying, oh, this wasn't quite right. And it's almost like when people go to a presentation or they go to a concert, they're not going to hear, there's very few people that will hear that you didn't do that high note correctly, completely like you felt like you could do. Very, very few. And a coach told me at this one point, and I'm thinking, really? Are you kidding? No, I could hit that better. He said, no, it's going to be it's amazing. People will not hear it. Unless it's a very, very trained ear, because you are on it, but it might just not be the best that you can do. You try to do that. That's your goal. But you have to adjust your mindset. Otherwise, you can't go on with the whole show. You
can't be your own worst critic forever.
So, and that happens in life, a big deal in life as well. I think people get blocked. It's like, oh, I gotta fix. Yeah.
That's a very human way of looking at things too.
It is.
Yeah.
Nothing is perfect, and people don't expect us to be perfect.
No.
It's really easy to think that that's the case. But like to your point about missing the high note, like okay. Again, if somebody had a very trained eye and they were listening for it, that's one thing. But the people that were there just to participate and enjoy, like they're paying attention to the average across the whole thing, which is amazing. Like nobody cares about the one little moment. And here's another thing, like it's kind of endearing when things don't go wrong or don't go right, because again, it's human. Like we all have these challenges, and like I think people are a lot more forgiving even when they do notice that something goes wrong than we want to think that they will be. When we're
It's relatable in a way,
ourselves.
isn't it? Like when you see like that happen, you're like, oh, I'm not alone in all this.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
very
they're
true.
kind of rooting for you. Oh,
Yeah.
is she going to make it? Is she going to make it?
Yeah.
That's right. Well,
Yeah.
I know we're getting close to the end of this episode. So one of our favorite questions that we like to ask, and especially with you, I mean, you've got such a rich background doing this, and you've seen a lot. So what's
Yeah.
something that you've learned as your career has progressed and you've been doing this that you wish you would have known when you first started?
Oh, well, I wish I had learned a lot more of the business part
Hmm.
when I started into my music career because I did a lot of product and I paid off the product, which was pretty amazing. I've never gone into debt for product and doing all of my CD albums and all of that because I'd end up booking the concerts that would pay for it.
Nice.
And, the product, it's almost like doing books these days. You're not going to, unless you're really on the top, you're not going to make tons of money on books. It's a promotional tool. And so as you do that, but I didn't understand as much of building the business and the whole. I was into the residual income, but not understanding all of the different areas and how the business should be. You have to schedule the business of doing the work in marketing and everything else. And I would do it, but it wasn't as planned. And I sort of, as I looked back, I thought, oh, I was sort of doing that in a way, but I didn't understand that I was really running a business. And so I wish I understood some of that. And I've actually worked with interns, college interns that were music majors. They would send me interns. And so many of them, I just said, you need to get a business degree and then do your music. So there's a 1% of 1% that actually work in this field. Unfortunate, I'm a woman. I play and sing and I write, and I'm very versatile. And I get hired, but you don't always get. But I also teach. So there's a number of different things I've taught since I was 13. So that's kept going all the way through. I've never actually quit as part of even a skill set, even in speaking now. So, but I wish I understood a little bit more of that business to not have to backtrack so much, even now, of some of the things that I'm putting out, the sheet music and all of those things. I wish I had been a little more consistent through the years in understanding the business part of just really having that propelled a lot more. But it's never too late.
It's never too late.
But I've learned a lot through the speaking business, which is, really, I think, a very a good, plug for like NSA or some of those organizations that are real educational or, helping people build their business.
Yeah, exactly. I like the word that you said there, keyword consistency, just to be consistent enough with it, right? I think so many people out there, this is every business owner. It's not just this expert category. It's every, I think, small business, but we have these moments of creation and then oh God, we gotta work on the business now. And then we can create some more stuff and crap, got to work on the business now. It's like this kind of roller coaster, rather than just being this kind of gradual increase with time. It's always just these big moments of activity. So I love that this is a human conversation. It's the human side of running a business. All of this stuff is inevitable. We're all going to have to experience these things, and we all kind of go through it at our own rate. So thank you for sharing your story with us here today, Deborah, and kind of just being transparent about what it's like to set goals and plan and not always hit them, but get back on the path and have discipline and super valuable stuff. As you know, because you're here, we're all about creating value for our audience. So what are you working on right now that our listeners could benefit from?
My husband would probably answer that. What isn't she working on? So, well, I just came out with my new book, The Summit. So that's it's available everywhere. Summit Journey to Hero Mountain, but it's all along the branding. So my Hero Mountain Summit, and that's the program I put out twice a year, which starts again in January. And I'm expanding on that because I've gotten some real ahas from people I've talked to that it's not only available for individuals, but for small companies, for their teams. And so they can get I've got everything programmed for CE credits. And so they can, it's a little bit different format. So I can partner with them. So that's what I'm putting that together. But I'm also, I've got a Plan Your Year program coming up, which is a webinar. You can get to a lot of my places on Goals for Your Life, goalsforyourlife.com/plan your year, or heromountainsummit.com. That's there. But on the Plan Your Year, I think so we're on video, so I could show this to you. But I've done this program for this webinar for 3 years. And I actually give you a printout calendar. Now, this is different than your other calendar. I'm pencil paper, I'm old school. But this is my marketing calendar. And this looks like there's nothing there, but there's a lot of stuff at the top, and I will fill this all in for November. But it's all the memes that I'm going to be doing for Christmas memes. And it's at the end of October. See, I have a lot of, you can't probably see this that close, but you can see a lot of the penciled in. It's the numbers of memes. It's all of the live streaming I've started doing on my book. I did a chapter a day, and I did a little, streaming on that. And also with the music, I'm putting out more. So I just finished the arrangement that I did years ago. It's a great one, of Silent Night, O Holy Night. There's a great arrangement. It's mine, and it's all, public domain. So of course I can own my full arrangement. And so you can get the sheet music, you can get the MP3. So, but that's all on the schedule. So I've now but you have to do the web pages, you have to do all of that stuff, but that's all on these schedules. So that's kind of between now and the end of the year, those couple things that I'm doing, that's where I'm focusing. Still a lot of marketing with the book, and getting those reviews in and all of that, because it's really important. It's not just about writing a book anymore. It's about getting reviews, getting people to read it, and getting the word out.
Promotional
Putting out
tool,
a couple postcards. I'm a snail mail person. I love writing personal notes, of course, but also I feel like now, especially, people love getting something they can touch, and getting something in the mail is kind of fun. So I used to do this some years ago, of doing the bigger mailers, and so I'm starting to do that a little bit again. And you can do this, like I use GotPrint. And you can do their scheduling through there. And it's less, I could do the 6x9 postcards and have them mail in, and it's less than even me mailing a regular postcard.
Nice.
By them doing all of the work. That's an assistant. So, you have to figure out some of those things. It's some planning. And of course, I have some virtual assistants that I will hire periodically. But that's what's ahead. I want to enjoy my holidays. I want to enjoy my family. We do a sing-along every year. Probably think about 17 years we've done that. So, those sort of things, and looking forward in the holidays. I like to be versatile enough, but yet I'll keep the work going. I'll finish this online course that should be very little editing too, so I can just put that up to help promote one of my musicals. See, that's another area. So my focus next year is a lot on promotion, because I have so much product and I have the programs already. So it's just getting the word out.
Definitely. And you got to have the strategic planning for it. So thank you for providing that resource as a guide. We'll make sure that's linked down below in the show notes. And hey, if you like this episode, don't forget to rate it, like it, subscribe to it. And if you want more awesome resources like this, go to speakerflow.com/resources. Thank you so much for chiming in. I just wanted to take a second to thank our sponsor, Auxbus. Auxbus is the all-in-one suite of tools you need to run your podcast. And it's actually what we run here at Speakerflow for Technically Speaking. It makes planning podcasts simple. It makes recording podcasts simple. It even makes publishing podcasts to the masses simple. And quite honestly, Technically Speaking wouldn't be up as soon as it is without Auxbus. Thank you so much, Auxbus. And if you are interested in checking Auxbus out, whether you're starting a podcast or you have one currently, get our special offer, auxbus.com/speakerflow, or click the link below in our show notes.
Thanks for tuning in today. Check the show notes for more info, and see you next time. Later.